Allo, allo, it's Nia. Welcome to AI Creator World Podcast, the place where creators learn how to grow faster, build smarter, and turn artificial intelligence into real opportunity. Here, we explore powerful AI tools, content strategies, personal branding systems, and new ways to create income in the digital era. If you are building something online, you are in the right place. Let's begin.
You probably have this incredible idea in your head right now.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
Right, like a concept or a framework, maybe just a really unique perspective on your industry that you just know people need to hear.
Absolutely.
But let me guess. The second you sit down at your computer, you open a new document, and you look at that blinking cursor.
Your brain just completely empties.
Exactly, it just empties. The cursor just sits there flashing at you like this tiny mocking heartbeat.
It is the worst feeling.
It really is. And then, 3 hours and like 2 cups of coffee later, you've written a single agonizingly stiff paragraph that you already hate.
Yeah, and it's funny because that is easily the most universal frustration in the modern digital economy.
Without a doubt.
I mean, the gap between what you know in your head
Yeah.
and the actual physical act of getting it onto the page, it's immense.
It's massive.
People just assume that, well, because they're experts in their field, they should naturally be effortless writers.
Right, like those two skills are somehow the same thing.
Exactly. And when they discover that isn't the case, the imposter syndrome hits so hard.
So hard. Well, welcome to the deep dive. Today, our entire mission is targeted directly at dismantling that exact paralysis.
It's a great mission.
We think so. We are taking you from being a stressed out, sporadic content creator who just dreads that blank page to becoming a consistent professional publisher.
Which is entirely possible, by the way.
Oh, 100%. We've got our hands on a really practical, recently updated guide. It's titled AI Content Creation Workflow for Beginners, Simple System to Grow Faster 2026.
And honestly, this is such a necessary document for the current landscape.
Yeah. Why do you say that?
Because the reality for you, the listener, is that you don't lack motivation. I mean, if you're tuning into this deep dive, you obviously have the drive.
Right. You care about this stuff.
Exactly. You also don't lack expertise. What you are missing is simply an operational framework.
A system.
Yes, a system. The raw mechanics of taking a thought and structuring it for public consumption. That is what causes the burnout.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the promise we are making to you today is essentially a massive shortcut.
A huge one.
We are going to walk through a 5-step, highly structured AI automation process. And this process compresses that grueling 3-hour marathon into, about 30 to 45 minutes?
Give or take, yeah, once you get the hang of it.
And the crucial part, the thing that caught my eye immediately in this source material is that you do all of this without sounding like a robotic, overly cheerful algorithm.
Right, you keep your human soul.
Exactly.
Okay.
But before we get to the shiny new AI tools, I feel like we need to talk about why the brain freezes in the first place.
We absolutely do.
Like, why does the traditional manual way of writing cause so much friction?
Well, it comes down to a concept called cognitive load.
Okay.
Specifically, the biological cost of context switching.
Context switching. Tell me more about that.
So when you sit down with a blank screen, you are actually demanding that your brain perform 3 completely different neurological tasks at the exact same time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. First, you're trying to be the visionary who comes up with the big idea.
Right.
Second, you're trying to be the architect who figures out the logical structure of the piece.
That makes sense.
And third, you're trying to be the line worker who is obsessing over specific adjectives and comma placement.
Oh, man, that feels incredibly familiar. I mean, I'm usually writing a sentence, deciding I don't like the topic entirely, deleting the sentence, and then basically questioning my entire career path.
And every single time you bounce between those modes.
Yeah.
From creative ideation to analytical structuring to granular writing, your brain literally burns through its glucose reserves at an accelerated rate.
So you're literally exhausting yourself physically.
It is exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
That is the fundamental structural flaw of the manual process.
Wow.
And that leads directly to what the guide identifies as the primary hurdles for beginners.
Which are?
The blank page paralysis, the severe time overruns where a post takes 4 hours, and that terrible feast or famine publishing cycle.
Oh, the feast or famine cycle. I know that one well.
We all do. You post every day for a week,
Uh-huh.
completely burn yourself out, and then you go silent for a month.
Yeah. The guide also mentions topic exhaustion, which is when you feel like you've simply said everything there is to say about your niche after like 3 weeks.
Exactly.
But if the problem is that we are trying to do too many jobs at once, does bringing an AI system into the mix actually solve that?
It does, if used correctly.
Because I look at some of these heavily systematized workflows and I worry it's just going to turn my very personal, quirky newsletter into something rigid and corporate.
That is such a natural fear, but the reality is actually the exact opposite.
Really? How so?
A strict system actually creates the psychological safety required for your unique voice to emerge.
Okay, I'm going to need an example of that.
Think about it this way. If you aren't spending 80% of your mental energy desperately trying to figure out how to transition from paragraph 2 to paragraph 3.
Which is always the hardest part.
Right. If you aren't doing that, you have a massive surplus of energy left over to be witty.
Oh, I see.
You have the energy to recall a highly specific anecdote from a client call or to articulate a controversial opinion.
Because you aren't drained from figuring out the structure.
Exactly. The AI system handles the heavy lifting of structure, which frees your human creativity to do what only it can do.
So we are basically offloading the glucose-burning tasks to the machine.
That's the perfect way to phrase it.
I can definitely see the appeal of that. So what do we actually use to build this system?
Well, that's where people usually get tripped up.
Right, because if you look at the landscape in 2026, there are, thousands of new AI tools launching every single month?
At least. It's overwhelming.
My inbox is just full of subscriptions promising to do my job for me. I assume the guide has a stance on this software bloat.
It has a very firm stance. Extreme minimalism.
Extreme minimalism. I like the sound of that.
Yeah. The author explicitly warns against tool overload. The ideal beginner setup is capped at 4 to 6 tools total.
Just 4 to 6?
Max. Because every time you adopt a new application, you introduce friction.
Right. You have to learn the UI.
You have to learn a new interface, manage another password, figure out its unique prompting quirks, and that destroys the automated flow we are trying to achieve.
Okay, let's walk through the specific categories of tools the guide recommends, because there are 4 distinct stages to this workflow, right?
Correct. 4 stages.
The first stage is ideation. Basically, simply figuring out what on earth to write about.
The hardest part for many.
The baseline recommendation here is ChatGPT because of its versatility. But the guide highlights 3 others that operate very differently.
Right.
It mentions Answer the Public, BuzzSumo, and Google's People Also Ask feature. Why highlight those specific 3 instead of, other AI chatbots?
Because those 3 aren't just generative AI.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually data scraping tools that reveal real-world search intent.
Search intent. Okay, give me an example.
Let's take Answer the Public as an example.
Okay.
When someone goes to Google and starts typing a question, Google's autocomplete tries to guess the rest of the sentence right.
Yeah, based on what everyone else is searching.
Exactly, based on what millions of other people have recently searched. Answer the Public scrapes all of that autocomplete data.
Oh, wow.
So instead of sitting in a room guessing what your audience cares about, these tools just hand you the exact verbatim questions real human beings are typing into search engines.
Usually in moments of private frustration.
Precisely.
That shifts the whole dynamic. You are basically guaranteeing that an audience exists for your topic before you even write the first word.
Exactly. You eliminate the guesswork.
Like, if I know people are specifically searching for, why does my lower back hurt after deadlifts, I don't need to guess if a post about deadlift form will perform well.
Right. You take that validated real-world demand, and then you feed it into a tool like ChatGPT to brainstorm the angles.
Okay, moving to the second stage. Outlining.
Yes.
The guide mentions ChatGPT again, but it also brings up Notion AI and Phrase.
Yes. Phrase is a big one here.
It's noted specifically for SEO-driven outlines. Can you break down what an SEO-driven outline actually means for someone who, isn't a search engine optimization expert?
Of course. Well, search engine optimization at its core is really just proving to Google that your article is the most comprehensive answer to a user's question.
Right.
So a tool like Phrase, it doesn't just brainstorm an outline from scratch out of thin air.
What does it do?
It looks at the top 10 articles that are currently ranking on Google for your specific topic.
Oh, clever.
It analyzes what headings they use, what questions they answer, what keywords they include, and then it generates an outline for you that covers all those bases.
Plus suggests areas where you can add even more value, I assume.
Exactly. This is essentially reverse engineering the competition.
That is a massive advantage. Okay, stage 3 is the writing assistance, the actual drafting.
The fun part.
Right. ChatGPT is the obvious workhorse here, but the guide heavily emphasizes Claude for having a more natural style.
Yes, Claude is highly recommended.
And I've noticed this myself. When I use ChatGPT, it constantly gives me these melodramatic, overly enthusiastic transitions.
Oh, the enthusiasm is exhausting.
Like, in today's fast-paced digital landscape, unlocking your potential is a game changer. It drives me absolutely crazy.
That robotic enthusiasm is a total hallmark of early generative AI.
It's so recognizable now.
It is, but Claude has distinguished itself by taking a different approach to its training and alignment. It's often referred to as constitutional AI.
Constitutional AI, okay.
Basically, it is heavily weighted to sound conversational, understated, and nuanced.
So less of the buzzwords.
Way less. It avoids those cliché buzzwords, and it rarely uses exclamation points unless you specifically prompt it to.
That's a relief.
So for long-form content like a newsletter or a blog, Claude provides a baseline draft that requires significantly less manual editing to sound like a normal human adult.
The guide also notes Jasper and Writesonic, right?
It does, yes.
Which seem more geared toward pure marketing, like ad templates, landing pages, that sort of thing.
Exactly. They were very specialized for direct response.
But let's look at the final stage, editing and productivity. We all know raw AI output isn't ready for publication.
They were published the raw output.
Grammarly is recommended for the basic spelling and punctuation safety net, but then it lists the Hemingway editor.
Yes.
And I really want to spend a minute here, because the guide calls Hemingway the most crucial tool for fixing AI writing. Why is that?
Well, generative AI models have a terrible, terrible habit.
What's that?
They are incredibly verbose, and they absolutely love the passive voice.
Ooh, that passive voice.
The Hemingway editor was built years ago to analyze text and highlight overly complex sentences, adverbs, and passive phrasing. It forces the writer to simplify.
Let me stop you there just for a second. We hear passive voice a lot in writing advice. Give me a concrete example of active versus passive voice so we know exactly what we are hunting for.
Sure. So, in active voice, the subject of the sentence performs the action.
Okay.
The client lifted the heavyweight. It's direct, it's punchy.
Makes sense.
In passive voice, the subject receives the action. The heavyweight was lifted by the client.
I hear the difference.
Right. It requires more words, it feels slower to read, and it honestly just drains the energy from the sentence.
So why does AI do that so much?
AI defaults to passive voice because it is trying to sound authoritative and academic.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Hemingway highlights those passive sentences in green, and it highlights the overly long, winding sentences in red. It's basically the perfect antidote to AI's worst habits.
So you use the AI to generate the volume, and you use Hemingway to ruthlessly chop it down.
Exactly.
I really like that. But here's where we need to get practical. Everything we just talked about, Phrase, Claude Pro, Jasper, those subscriptions add up fast.
They certainly do.
If I'm a beginner, I might not have a couple of $100s a month to drop on software just to see if this content creation thing even works. Does the guide offer a workaround?
It does, and this is where the barrier to entry completely vanishes.
Okay.
The guide outlines what it calls the free starter stack. You can execute this entire professional-grade workflow for $0.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Right. The stack is incredibly streamlined. You use ChatGPT on its free tier for all your ideation, outlining, and drafting.
Okay.
You install the free Grammarly browser extension to catch basic errors. You use the free web version of the Hemingway editor to fix the verbosity.
Makes sense.
You use Canva's free plan to design your featured images and graphics. And finally, you use the free tier of a scheduling app like Buffer or Later to queue up your posts.
So there's literally zero financial excuse not to start.
None whatsoever. And the underlying philosophy of the guide really drives home is that an amateur using those 5 free tools with a disciplined, consistent process will vastly outperform a creator paying for 10 premium subscriptions who only uses them sporadically when inspiration strikes.
Wow.
The magic is in the workflow, not the software.
Okay, so we have our free minimalist stack assembled.
Right.
We understand the psychology of why we need a system in the first place. Right.
Now we move into the actual execution. We are opening the blueprint. Section 3 of the source material outlines the 5-step workflow, starting with architecture.
The foundation.
Step 1 is ideation. And the goal here is to cure topic exhaustion permanently.
We want to build a reservoir of ideas.
Right.
So you never have to think of a topic on the exact same day you sit down to write.
The guide claims you can generate like 10 to 15 highly targeted ideas in about 10 seconds.
Which sounds crazy, but it's true.
But the secret is in the prompting. Let's ground this. Let's say you, the listener, are a fitness coach targeting busy professionals.
Okay, good example.
If you just go to ChatGPT and type, "Give me ideas for my fitness blog," you are going to get garbage back.
Complete garbage. You will get things like the importance of hydration or how to start running.
Oh, so boring.
Completely generic, useless concepts that have been written about a million times.
So what's the fix?
The guide provides a mandatory 4-part anatomy for the perfect ideation prompt.
4 parts. Okay, what are they? You must specify the format, the topic, the highly specific audience, and the scope.
Let's roleplay that.
Oh.
How do we turn that terrible fitness prompt into something actually usable?
Okay, so you would instruct the AI like this.
Hmm.
Give me 15 ideas for LinkedIn text posts. That's the format.
Got it.
The topic is mobility training and posture correction. That's the topic.
Okay.
The target audience is middle-aged corporate executives who sit at a desk for 9 hours a day and travel frequently.
Wow, that is incredibly specific.
It has to be. And finally, the scope. Each idea should be narrow enough to be fully explained in a 300-word post.
The difference there is staggering.
It changes everything.
Because instead of start running, the AI is going to spit back something like 3 discrete hip flexor stretches you can do in an airplane seat without annoying the person next to you.
Exactly. And that is an article I would actually click on.
Me too.
And once you generate those 15 brilliant ideas, you don't write them all at once.
Right, you pace yourself.
You pick the best one for today, and you save the other 14 in a simple spreadsheet.
The idea reservoir.
That spreadsheet becomes your idea pipeline.
Yeah.
So next week, you skip step 1 entirely. You just open the spreadsheet, grab idea number 2, and move forward.
That is so efficient. And that brings us to step 2, creating the outline.
Yes.
And again, the prompting here is rigorous. You don't just say write an outline.
Never.
The guide emphasizes asking the AI for H2 sections, H3 subsections, and 2 to 3 key bullet points under every single subsection.
It's very granular.
We threw those terms around earlier, but let's define them. Why do we care about H2s and H3s? What do those even mean?
Right. So they refer to heading 2 and heading 3, which are essentially HTML tags that format the text on a website.
Okay.
But practically speaking, they dictate the architecture of your article. Your H1 is the main title of the piece.
Like the headline.
Yes. Your H2s are the main chapter headings. Your H3s are the subpoints within those chapters.
Why does a search engine care about that hierarchy?
Imagine a Google search bot as a librarian who has 3 seconds to read your entire article and figure out what it's about.
Just 3 seconds.
Right. The bot doesn't read every single word. It scans the H1, then it scans the H2s, then the H3s. It basically reads your site like a table of contents.
Oh, that makes sense.
If you don't structure your content with these clear hierarchies, the bot assumes your article is a disorganized mess and just drops down the search rankings.
And I assume human readers do the exact same thing.
Exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
We don't read online. We scan. Clear headers make the content digestible.
So we asked the AI to map out this entire hierarchy. But the guide highlights a specific instruction here that it calls the most important part of the architecture phase.
The 5-minute outline review.
Yes, the 5-minute outline review. It insists that you must rigorously review, delete, and add your own thoughts to this AI outline before you generate any actual paragraphs.
It is the single most critical checkpoint in the whole process.
I need to push back on this a little bit.
Go for it.
Because the entire pitch of AI is that it saves me time.
Right.
If I have to sit there and manually rewrite the bullet points the AI just gave me, haven't I just recreated the manual labor I was trying to avoid in the first place? Why not just trust the machine and tell it to start writing the draft?
This raises an important question about your role in this process.
Okay.
The AI is incredibly fast, but it only knows the statistical average of the internet.
The statistical average, right.
It produces the most likely middle-of-the-road structure possible. What it does not know is your specific client story. It doesn't know the controversial, counterintuitive opinion you hold about your industry.
Ah, I see. Like, it doesn't know that my fitness coach avatar absolutely despises burpees and refuses to teach them.
Exactly. If you let the AI draft a full article based on its generic outline, it might dedicate an entire section to the benefits of burpees.
Because the internet loves burpees.
Right. And then you have a finished 1,000-word draft that fundamentally contradicts your brand.
That would be a nightmare.
You will spend 2 frustrating hours trying to rip that section out and rewrite the transitions.
Yeah, that completely defeats the purpose.
By spending 5 minutes at the outline stage to delete the burpee section and add a bullet point about your unique alternative exercise, you prevent massive structural disasters.
You are steering the ship before it leaves the harbor.
That's a great way to put it. It establishes your editorial control at the very foundation.
Okay, that clarifies a lot. You fix the blueprint before you pour the concrete. Because moving a wall once the concrete is set is a total nightmare.
Exactly.
So we have this meticulously reviewed, highly personal outline. We know exactly what the article is going to say.
Yes.
Now we move to step 3, which is the actual construction phase, drafting the text.
A heavy lifting.
And the technique the guide recommends here completely contradicts how most people use ChatGPT.
You are referring to section-by-section prompting.
Yes. The guide explicitly states that you should never paste your beautiful outline into the AI and say, write the whole article.
Never do that.
Instead, you feed the AI one single H2 section at a time. You ask it for 150 words covering just those specific bullet points. You review it, and then you prompt it for the next section.
That is the method.
Wait, hold on. If I have an article with 8 subheadings, you're telling me I have to prompt the AI 8 separate times?
Yes.
That sounds incredibly tedious.
It does sound tedious until you understand the underlying technical limitations of large language models.
Okay, school me on this.
There is a concept called the context window, or token memory. When you ask an AI to write a 1,500-word article all at once, you are overwhelming its short-term memory.
What happens when it gets overwhelmed?
It hallucinates.
Ah.
It starts off strong in the introduction, but by the time it reaches paragraph 4, it has forgotten the specific nuances of your outline.
It just loses the thread.
Completely. It starts rambling, it repeats phrases, it makes up generic advice that wasn't in your bullet points, and the tone becomes incredibly bland.
So it's like an eager but slightly forgetful intern.
That's a good comparison.
If I give that intern a week's worth of complex tasks on Monday morning and just walk away, they are going to panic and mess up half the work by Thursday.
Almost certainly.
But if I give them one specific task, wait for them to finish, review it, and then hand them the next folder, the output is flawless.
That is a perfect analogy. By micro-prompting section by section, you force the AI to concentrate all of its processing power on one micro-topic at a time.
So the quality stays high.
The narrative stays incredibly tight.
Yeah.
The AI strings your specific bullet points together into coherent prose without drifting into generic fluff.
Wow.
The quality difference between a one-click generated article and a section-by-section draft is literally the difference between amateur spam and professional publishing.
And I guess realistically, prompting it 8 times only takes about 15 minutes anyway.
Exactly. It's not actually that much time.
So what does this all mean for the creator? It means the dynamic has shifted. The AI is the ghostwriter typing the words, but you are the editor-in-chief.
You manage the writer.
Right. You hand the writer a brief for chapter 1, you approve it, and then you hand them the brief for chapter 2.
And once all those chapters are generated, you just compile them into one document.
Which moves us to step 4. Edit and optimize.
Right.
So we take that assembled draft, run it through the Hemingway editor to kill the passive voice, and check it with Grammarly.
The standard cleanup.
But the guide introduces a secondary editing phase that it considers absolutely mandatory for the 2026 landscape. It calls it the authenticity pass.
This is where we elevate the content from acceptable to exceptional.
The guide states that grammatically perfect AI content is no longer enough. You have to manually go through your drafted text and inject personal examples, real-world data points, and strong opinions.
Yes.
If you skip this, the guide warns that your content will consistently underperform. Why is authenticity suddenly a technical requirement, not just a, nice to have?
Because both human readers and search engine algorithms have adapted to the AI era.
They've caught on.
Big time. 2 years ago, simply having coherent, well-structured text was enough to stand out. Today, the internet is absolutely flooded with perfectly punctuated, infinite AI text.
It's everywhere.
Readers have developed a subconscious radar for it. They scan a post, and if it reads like a sterile Wikipedia entry with no lived experience, no specific anecdotes, or no human friction,
they just close the tab.
they bounce immediately.
And Google's algorithm is doing the exact same thing, right?
Absolutely. Google has updated its systems to prioritize something called information gain.
Information gain. Let's break that down.
Think of information gain as a metric that asks a simple question. Does this new article add any net new facts, unique perspectives, or original data to the internet?
Net new facts. Yeah.
If your article is just an AI-generated summary of the same top 10 articles that already exist, the information gain is exactly 0.
Because it's just repeating what's already there.
Right. Google has absolutely no reason to rank it. But if you include a paragraph detailing a specific failure you had with a client last Tuesday and the exact words you used to fix the problem,
That is original information.
that is information game.
That is fascinating. So the AI builds the house, and it ensures the plumbing works and the roof doesn't leak.
Yes.
But the authenticity pass injecting that information game is you bringing in the weird vintage rug you bought on a trip and hanging up your personal photos.
Of that.
It's what proves a human actually lives there.
And that lived-in quality is the only moat you have against millions of other creators using the exact same AI tools as you.
Okay, we are moving quickly through the blueprint. We have ideated, outlined, drafted, and injected our authentic humanity.
The hard part is done.
We have a polished 1,000-word masterpiece. Step 5 is publish and repurpose.
Yes.
The guide is very blunt here. It says that in 2026, writing a massive post, publishing it to your blog, and then just walking away to take a nap is a catastrophic waste of leverage.
It is the ultimate inefficiency.
How so?
You have expended all this energy generating a core asset. If you only post it on one platform, you are ignoring 80% of your potential audience who hang out on different networks.
So the instruction is to publish the main article to your hub, like a WordPress site or a Substack.
Your home base.
Right. And the guide gives a quick technical checklist for that. Don't forget your featured image, your internal links, and your meta descriptions.
Crucial details.
Let's pause on those terms so nobody gets left behind. What is a meta description, and why do I need internal links?
A meta description is the short snippet of text, usually about 150 characters, that appears right below your article's title on a Google search results page.
Like the movie trailer for the article.
Exactly like a movie trailer. Its entire job is to convince the person scrolling Google to click your link instead of the guy below you.
Right.
If you don't write a custom meta description, Google will just randomly scrape the first few sentences of your post, which usually makes for a terrible trailer.
Because the first sentence is usually just setting the scene.
Exactly. As for internal links, that simply means placing hyperlinks inside your new article that point to older articles you've written.
Why does it matter so much?
2 reasons. First, it keeps human readers on your website longer. They finish reading about deadlifts, see a link to your older article on protein powder, and they click it.
You're keeping them in your ecosystem.
Right. Second, it creates spider webs for search engine bots.
Spider webs?
When Google crawls your new deadlift article, it follows those internal links to rediscover and reindex your older content, which boosts the authority of your entire website.
Okay, so the article is live on the blog. The movie trailer is written. The spider webs are placed. Now, the magic happens.
The repurposing.
Yes. The guide says you must immediately go back to ChatGPT, paste your finished human-edited article into the prompt window, and execute a repurposing command.
This is where the AI truly acts as a multiplier.
The suggested prompt asks the AI to take that 1,000-word blog post and instantly slice it up into 3 distinct LinkedIn posts, 5 short tweets, 1 long Instagram caption complete with 8 relevant hashtags, and a hook for an email newsletter.
Think about the manual labor that used to require.
Hours and hours.
You would write a blog post on Monday, then on Tuesday, you'd sit down, stare at another blank screen, and try to figure out how to summarize it for LinkedIn.
And by Wednesday, you'd try to figure out a witty angle for Twitter and just give up.
Exactly.
It's like using the whole buffalo. You took one major concentrated effort to create the core asset, and with one additional prompt, it feeds your entire multi-platform content calendar for the rest of the week.
And the brilliant part is, because you did the hard work of injecting your unique voice and personal stories during the authenticity pass, all of those repurposed social media posts automatically inherit that high-quality human touch.
Oh, because the source text is already authentic.
Exactly. They don't sound like generic AI tweets. They sound like you, just reformatted for the specific culture of a different platform.
But the guide is very specific that you shouldn't just ask the AI to summarize this for Twitter.
Never use the word summarize.
It introduces psychological frameworks to use in your prompts to ensure the output actually grabs attention. For long-form content, it recommends the problem-solution-result framework.
Yes.
And for the repurposed social media content, it insists on the hook-value CTA framework. Let's break those down. Why do frameworks matter so much here?
Frameworks exploit human psychology. Let's look at the social media framework. Hook, value, call to action.
Hook-value CTA, got it.
Social media platforms are fundamentally distraction engines. People are scrolling at warp speed.
Just swiping endlessly.
Right. If your repurposed tweet just starts with a gentle, polite introduction, they will scroll right past it. You must explicitly instruct the AI to start the post with a strong hook.
Give me an example of a good hook versus a bad one.
Okay, a bad hook? Today I want to talk about the importance of stretching.
Yeah, I'm already asleep.
Exactly, a good hook. Sitting at a desk for 9 hours a day is silently destroying your lower back. Here is the 3-minute routine that fixes it.
You identify the pain immediately.
You stop the scroll. Once you have their attention, the AI delivers the value, the core insight, pulled directly from your blog post.
And then?
And finally, you end with the CTA, or call to action. You never want a reader to finish a post and wonder what to do next. You instruct them.
Like, read the full guide at the link in my bio or something.
Or save this post for your next flight. By forcing the AI to output the content through these rigid psychological frameworks, you guarantee the formatting is highly optimized for engagement.
And the beautiful byproduct of this, as the guide points out, is that you are building a content asset bank.
This is a crucial concept for long-term sustainability.
Tell me more about that.
All of those repurposed tweets, LinkedIn carousels, and Instagram captions, they don't just disappear after you post them. You save them in a categorized folder. 6 months from now, if you are sick or just want to take a vacation, you don't need to generate new ideas.
You just go to the bank.
You open your asset bank, find a LinkedIn post about mobility training that got great engagement 6 months ago, update the hook slightly, and republish it.
That is amazing.
Your past labor continuously funds your future output.
So we've covered the tools, the psychology, the 5-step workflow, and the frameworks.
Yeah, we've covered a lot.
We are at the final stage. The listener understands the mechanics, but how do we compress this entire ecosystem into a sustainable routine? The guide promises this can all be done in under an hour a week.
Yes.
How is that physically possible?
Through the discipline of batching.
Batching. Okay, the guide identifies batching as the single most effective strategy for reducing your time per piece of content.
It's non-negotiable.
It says you should never wake up on a Tuesday and try to run through all 5 steps to get a post out that same day.
No, never.
Instead, you dedicate a single, focused 90-minute session once a week, say Sunday morning, to produce all your content for the following week.
We need to circle back to the psychology of the brain here.
Okay, let's do it.
We talked earlier about the biological cost of context switching. There is also something called setup cost.
Setup cost, like getting ready to work.
Exactly. Every time you sit down to work, there is a friction period. You have to physically open your laptop, log into your AI tools, find your prompt templates, and most importantly, you have to transition your brain from leisure mode into a focused analytical state.
Oh, I know that setup cost well. It usually involves me staring out the window, rearranging my desk, and suddenly deciding I need to water my plants before I can write a single word.
It takes at least 20 minutes just to settle in.
At least.
So if you try to create one piece of content every single day, you are paying that 20-minute setup cost 7 times a week.
Oh, wow, when you put it like that.
That is over 2 hours of your life wasted just trying to get into the zone.
That's depressing.
When you batch, you only pay that setup cost once. You sit down on Sunday, you open the tools, and you push through that initial friction.
Right.
Once you achieve that flow state, moving from idea generation to outlining to drafting to repurposing, it becomes completely frictionless. You just ride the momentum of the session.
So in that single 90-minute window, you produce your main blog post, your newsletter, and your 5 social media posts.
All of it.
But you don't post them on Sunday. You move to the final piece of the software stack, automation.
Right. You take all of those batched assets and you load them into your scheduling tools.
Like the buffer or later accounts we mentioned in the free stack.
Exactly. You program them to drip out on Monday at 8 a.m., Wednesday at noon, Friday at 5 p.m.
This achieves something profound for a beginner. You are permanently staying a week ahead of your publishing schedule.
It completely eliminates the baseline anxiety of being a digital creator.
You aren't constantly behind.
You are no longer waking up in a cold sweat, wondering what you are going to post today to feed the algorithm. The machine is just running quietly in the background.
I love that.
It gives you the psychological breathing room to actually engage with your audience's comments, to think about bigger projects, or to simply close your laptop and enjoy your weekend.
And while you are enjoying your weekend, the system is gathering data.
The data is key.
Because the guide makes it clear that this workflow is not a set it and forget it magic trick. It requires continuous evolution. You are supposed to look at your analytics at the end of every month to see what the market actually cared about.
This creates the ultimate feedback loop.
How so?
An AI system is only as good as the instructions it receives. If you notice that your highly technical tutorial-style posts are getting shared twice as much as your broad opinion pieces,
Yeah.
you take that data and feed it directly back into step 1.
Oh, I see. Your ideation prompt for the next month evolves.
Yes.
You go to ChatGPT and say, last month, tutorials outperformed opinions. Give me 10 new tutorial ideas designed specifically for step-by-step carousels.
You are allowing real-world data to refine the algorithm. Vague prompts create generic noise. Data-driven, highly specific prompts that adapt to your audience's behavior that creates undeniable value.
The guide states that most beginners, once they practice this workflow a few times, hit these blazing production speeds within just 3 weeks.
It happens very fast.
They go from 3 hours of agonizing over a single post to batching a whole week's worth of multi-platform content in under 90 minutes. But I have a major existential pushback here.
Let's hear it.
If the barrier to entry is truly $0,
Which it is.
and if anyone with a laptop can follow this 5-step blueprint to generate massive amounts of high-quality content in an hour, won't the internet just be completely flooded with everyone doing exactly this?
It's a valid concern.
How does a single creator possibly stand out in an ocean of infinite AI content?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, your fear is entirely justified. The internet is going to be flooded. In many ways, it already is.
Right.
But it is being flooded with unedited, fully automated, zero information gain trash.
Ah.
It is flooded by people who skipped the 5-minute outline review, people who skipped the authenticity pass, people who relied entirely on the passive voice generative default.
The people who just click write article and walked away to take that nap.
Yes. And as we discussed, readers and search engines are aggressively filtering that noise out.
They see right through it.
The creators who actually win in this new era will not be the ones who use AI to completely replace their own voice.
Who will it be?
The winners will be the ones who use this workflow strictly to save time on the mundane mechanics, the structuring, the grammar checks, the formatting for different platforms.
Okay.
They will take those 2 hours they saved every day, and they will double down on their humanity.
They will use the saved time to gather better personal stories, to conduct interviews, to actually talk to their clients.
Precisely. In a sea of infinite generic AI answers, genuine human authenticity, vulnerability, and real-world experience, those become the rarest and most valuable commodities on the internet.
That makes total sense.
This AI workflow does not replace your humanity. It provides the operational leverage to amplify it.
That is a phenomenal perspective. Let's run a rapid-fire recap of the entire journey we've mapped out for the listener today.
Sounds good?
We started by diagnosing the real problem. The blank page paralysis isn't a lack of talent, it's the cognitive overload of context switching. You cure that by shifting from manual labor to a structured 5-step process.
We established the minimalist $0 tool stack, ChatGPT, Grammarly, Hemingway Canva, and a scheduler, no software bloat.
Then we executed the blueprint. Step 1, ideation using specific 4-part prompts to build a reservoir of ideas.
Step 2, outlining the H2s and H3s and performing that vital 5-minute review to secure your editorial control.
Step 3, drafting section by section to bypass the AI's memory limits and eliminate hallucinations.
Step 4, editing with Hemingway to kill the passive voice and performing the authenticity pass to guarantee information gain.
And finally, step 5, the multiplier effect. Using psychological frameworks like hook value CTA to instantly repurpose that core asset into a week's worth of social media content.
All executed in a single 90-minute batch session to eliminate the friction of setup costs.
It really is a masterclass in modern leverage. As we wrap up, what is the single most important action the listener should take after this deep dive ends?
I want to address you, the listener, directly. The most critical advice hidden in this guide is this. Do not spend the next month researching alternate tools.
Don't do.
Do not try to build the perfect, flawless Notion database in your head before you begin. Start this week.
Just start.
Run through this 5-step process just once. Generate one idea, tweak one outline, micro-prompt the draft, add one personal story, and hit publish.
Yeah.
The friction and the imposter syndrome disappear entirely through the act of doing.
The clarity comes from the action, not the planning. I love that.
Absolutely.
And I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over. We've spent this entire time talking about how to use AI to write faster.
Right.
But if a machine can now perfectly handle the mechanics of syntax, the heavy lifting of structure, and the nuance of grammar,
What you can't do?
doesn't that fundamentally change what the job title of creator or writer actually means?
It changes everything.
Perhaps in the very near future, the most successful, impactful voices won't be the ones with the largest vocabulary or the fastest typing speed. They will be the ones with the best taste.
The best curators.
Exactly. The role is shifting. You are no longer the exhausted line worker hunched over a typewriter. You are stepping into the role of a visionary director of your own digital media empire.
A director. I like that.
You manage the AI team, you set the creative vision, you dictate the strategy, and you ensure the final product has a human soul.
It's an incredible time to be building.
It really is.
Yeah.
So stop staring at that blinking cursor, pick up your new blueprint, and start directing. We'll catch you on the next
Thank you
deep
for
dive.
listening to AI Creator World Podcast. If you found this episode valuable, make sure to follow the podcast, subscribe on YouTube, and share this episode with another creator who is building their future online. For deeper guides, AI tools, and step-by-step growth strategies, visit our website at aicreatorworld.net. And remember, in the age of artificial intelligence, creators who learn faster will lead the future. See you in the next episode. Bye!